Serpent Night Dragon is a secret rare from the third set in the game's history, Magic Ruler, but its 2350 attack for a level 7 vanilla has prevented it from ever having its moment in the sun, even in the early days. In the anime, Serpent Knight is Rex's ace after he loses Red Eyes to Joey, though he then proceeds to lose it to Espa Roba in Battle City. Rex otherwise is short on what you would call ace cards, even despite a couple of retrains to his signature Dinosaur two-headed King Rex, which leave a lot to be desired. As the original Dino duelist of the series, let's see if we can bring these fossils back to life. Serpent Night Dragon, believe it or not, isn't starting from complete scratch. While translations of their name may make it harder to discern, Serpent Night is actually the evil counterpart to Seiyaru, as in the Japanese the former is known as Evil Night Dragon and the latter Holy Night Dragon. But unlike his evil counterpart, Seiyaru was recently given the retrain treatment in the form of Starry Night, and if Konami were to expand on this archetype with the addition of a retrained Serpent Night Dragon, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to design a dark side called Silent Night that meshes into Starry Night, sort of like E-Hero meets Evil Hero. But there are two issues I have with this approach. A, the specificity within this archetype that supports light dragons, fairies, and Starry Night cards makes it difficult to combine a dark side, so if anything, it would be better served as a standalone archetype but with a lore that ties into Starry Night. And then B, it would ignore the flavor text on Serpent Night Dragon, which reads that it is a dragon created from the soul of a wicked knight. That flavor text is where I want the premise of a Serpent Night Dragon deck to start, and since it is, at least in the anime, a Rex card, the surrounding support will be based on his cards. But in keeping with the Starry Night lore, this custom archetype will still be branded as its dichotomy Silent Night, not just in name, but in how these earthly ancient dinosaurs rival the heavenly fairies. And of course, the first monster is the retrain of Serpent Night Dragon, and that is Silent Night Dragon. So the one weird thing about Rex was that even though he was the Dino duelist, his best cards were all dragons. I'm keeping this one a dragon, though everything it does is in support of dinosaurs. If it's special summoned by an effect, you can target a card on the field and destroy it, and if you do, dinosaur monsters you control can attack directly that turn. Also, your opponent cannot destroy dinosaur monsters you control with card effects, and if he is sent to the grave, you can target one of your banished Wicked Knight and return it to your grave, and that brings us to the Wicked Knight. Again, the card mentioned on the original flavor text. During the end phase, you can banish this card from your grave and special summon one Silent Night monster from your hand or deck. You can only use this effect of Wicked Knight once per turn. So the soul of this Wicked Knight, i.e. activating the grave, can not only transform into the Silent Night Dragon, but any of the other Silent Night monsters in the rest of this archetype. But before we get to those, we have the long-awaited retrain of Tri-Horn Dragon, the Tri-Horn Dino, whose flavor text mentioned that he's an unworthy dragon, so unworthy that he left the Dragon Clan and became a dinosaur. At the end of the battle phase in which your dinosaur monster destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, you can special summon this card from your hand, then draw one card for each of your opponent's monsters destroyed by battle by dinosaur monsters this turn with a max of 3. You can only special summon Tri-Horn Dino once per turn this way. Also up to thrice per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a dino you control, you can negate that effect. So like how Silent Night Dragon protects your dinos from destruction, this guy protects them from targeting. So now we get to the rest of the Silent Night series, starting off with Silent Night King Rex. Once per turn at the end of the damage step, if he attacked, you can banish one dinosaur monster from your grave, and he can make a second attack on a monster in a row. But if he's special summoned by an effect, such as the Wicked Knight and some of the other options you'll see, it gains these effects. It can't be destroyed by battle, and at the end of the damage step, if a monster this card battle was not destroyed, that monster loses 1600 attack. So say up to anything that has 3200 attack, you could attack with it, banish a monster, reduce that monster that it was battling by 1600 attack, then attack again to be able to destroy it. Up next is the Destroyer Silent Night Raby, who if you control a dinosaur monster, you can quick effect special summon him from your hand, destroy one other monster you control, then destroy one monster your opponent controls. He also has another effect where if he's special summoned by an effect, you can target one dinosaur monster in your grave and add it to your hand. You can only use one effect of this guy per turn and only once that turn. Up next is another destroyer, this one for spells and traps, Silent Night Trachodon. If you control a dinosaur monster, quick effect, you can special summon this guy from your hand and destroy one spell trap you control, then destroy one spell trap your opponent controls. And if this guy is special summoned by an effect, you can set one of Silent spell trap directly from your deck. And like the last guy, you can only use one of these effects per turn and only once that turn. Next up is Silent Night Mega Zowler. You can discard this card to special summon one Silent Night monster from your hand, so another way beyond Wicked Knight to trigger some of these special summoned by effects. And if this card that was special summoned by an effect destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target one spell trap on the field and destroy it. Next up is the honest of the group, Sword Arm of Silent Night. During damage calculation, if your other dinosaur monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send him from your hand or field to the grave, and that monster you control gains 1750 attack during the damage calculation only. Also, while he's in the grave, he has a searching effect where when your dinosaur monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can banish him from the grave to add one dino monster except Sword Arm of Silent Night from your deck to your hand. So he combos with himself pretty well because you send him from your hand or field to the grave to be able to get over your opponent's monster. Then you can in turn use his graveyard effect, banish it to search out another dino, say a Tri-Horn Dino. So since you've just destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, that will allow you to trigger your Tri-Horn Dino as well. The spells start off with the Field Knight of Silence. Once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, you can discard a card, then add one Silent Night monster from your deck to your hand. Also, if this card you control is destroyed, you can special summon one Dino from your grave, so another way to trigger a lot of these when special summoned by an effect cards. Next up is Chamber of Silence. This allows you to target 3 of your Silent Night monsters that are banished and or in your grave, shuffle them into the deck, then draw one card. And if you controlled Silent Night Dragon or a level 6 or higher dinosaur monster when you activated this effect, you can draw 2 cards instead. And now we get to the traps, starting with Emblem of Silence. This allows you to send one Wicked Knight from your deck to the grave. You can also banish this card from your grave so that for the rest of the turn, the activation and effects of Wicked Knight cannot be negated. So whether that be preemptively to get around counter traps, or in response to your opponent trying to negate the activation of your Wicked Knight, say with an Ash Blossom or some other form of negation. And finally, we have Mirage of Silence, another normal trap which allows you to send one monster from your hand or field to the grave, to special summon one Silent Night monster from your hand or deck, and if you do, that monster is unaffected by your opponent's card effects for the rest of the turn. So again, another way to trigger the special summon by effects, also allowing you to make use of those dead dinos or Wicked Knights in hand or on the field. So that does it for the Silent Night archetype. Hope you enjoyed, and be sure to like and subscribe for next week. February might be over, but we are celebrating a late Valentine's Day.